Hi, scientists and researchers. Welcome to Read Aloud today. Again, we are going to be looking at our books about penguins by Bobby Kalman, Penguins and the Life Cycle of Emperor Penguin. Today, we're focusing in on learning about their bodies. So let's take another look at our table of contents. We did some learning about their bodies initially when we kind of got our overview of penguins, and we've seen some other information about their bodies during some of our other excerpts that we've read. So this time, when I look at the table of contents for penguins, I notice that it says right here, a penguin's body on page 10. And we've read that before when we were getting the gist about penguins, but today we're going to read it again because good readers and researchers, they go back and they read things again, sometimes with a different lens. So before, our lens was, let's kind of figure out what these penguin things are. And now we know we're zoning in on the penguins and their bodies, and we're looking for information on that. I've also gotten pretty familiar with this book. I flipped through it, I've skimmed it, I've looked at some text features, and I did also realize that there's some information in these two chapters, in the water and moving on land, that tells me about their bodies. So we're going to look at those today too. And for emperor penguins, again, looking through here, I saw an emperor penguin's body is on page 8, so I'm definitely going to read that. But I did decide to also take a look, let me skip ahead here, at the index at the back of emperor penguins. So in the index, I saw the word bodies, and it told me that bodies comes up on pages 4, 8 to 9, 22, and 25. So we're going to explore those today as well. But let's go back to penguins, and we're going to start by rereading these two pages here that are about a penguin's body. Penguins have a very poor sense of smell. Scientists think that penguins can see better underwater than they can see on land. A penguin's smooth, streamlined body helps it travel quickly through the water. Most birds have hollow bones to help them fly, but a penguin has solid bones that allow it to dive into water. A penguin uses its razor-sharp beak to fight off enemies. A penguin has fleshy spikes on its tongue and inside its mouth to help it hold on to its slippery food. And we learned about that too when we were reading about their food. Millions of years ago, a penguin's flippers were wings, but now they are shaped like paddles for swimming. So lots of great facts right here surrounding this image. A penguin has a preen gland near its tail. The preen gland makes the oil that the penguin uses to waterproof its feathers. After each swim, the penguin preens. It uses its beak to arrange its feathers and spread oil through them. A penguin's feathers are short and stiff. Once a year, old feathers fall out as new ones grow. This change is called molting. It takes several weeks for a penguin to molt. So before, I was just kind of getting an idea, but now, especially if I'm jotting down some boxes and bullets, I can really dive deeper and pull out some information to help support my research about penguins and their bodies. Let's read some more. Let's find out how they use their bodies in the water. Penguins cannot fly, but they do flap their flippers underwater as other birds flap their wings in the air. As they swim, penguins steer with their feet and tail. Penguins can swim very quickly. So right there in that paragraph, I learned a few things about their body. They can't fly, but they still flap. And on penguins, it's called their flippers, whereas on other birds that fly in the sky, it's called their wings. And they use their feet and tail to steer, and they can swim quickly. All things about how their body works. When penguins swim long distances, they shoot out of the water, take in air, and dive under again. This leaping is called porpoising. Penguins are able to hold their breath underwater for a long time. Emperor penguins can hold their breath for up to 20 minutes. That's a long time. Your lunchtime is 25 minutes. So for almost your entire lunch period, they can hold their breath. A penguin's black and white coloring is called countershading. Countershading helps camouflage penguins in the water. An enemy swimming beneath a penguin cannot see its white belly against the bright sky above. An enemy swimming above a penguin cannot see its black back against the dark water below. So I've learned their undersides are white and their back is black, and that helps them camouflage in the water, which is another survival trait. Moving on land. Because their bodies are designed for swimming, most penguins find walking difficult. To keep their balance as they waddle, penguins must lean forward and hold out their flippers. Many penguins, such as this rockhopper, find it easier to hop from rock to rock than to waddle. Some penguins, however, can move quickly on land. On soft snow, an Adelie penguin can outrun a person. When penguins get tired of walking, they toboggan. They flop onto their belly and push themselves along with their flippers. So here I've learned that their bodies are more designed for the water, but they do have ways of moving on land. So coming back to our index in the life cycle of an emperor penguin, I'm going to look at where it says bodies. But I want to point out a few things to you when we do this. So it's going to have told me where it talks about their bodies or that word came up. So first, here is page 4, and it's their What is a Penguin, which is going to kind of give me an overview about a penguin. So let's read this. Keep in mind, we're focusing in for information on their bodies. A penguin is a bird. A bird is an animal that has feathers, a beak, 2 legs, and 2 wings. Unlike most birds, penguins do not use their wings to fly. Penguins live mainly in water, so they use their wings to swim. Like all birds, penguins breathe air using lungs. Lungs are body parts that take in and let out air. Penguins cannot breathe underwater. They must swim to the surface of the water to breathe air. Warm-blooded. A penguin is a warm-blooded animal. The body temperature of a warm-blooded animal stays about the same in both cold and warm places. Most penguins live in places that are very cold. Their thick feathers help keep them warm. And then our caption down here, emperor penguins are large penguins. They share about, Mrs. Partika is struggling here. Emperor penguins are large penguins. They stand about 45 inches tall and weigh between 48 and 81 pounds. So they're about as big as you guys. So let's think about what we learned about their bodies on this page. They have feathers, a beak, legs, and wings. They have lungs. They're warm-blooded. So we learned a few different things about their bodies and got an overview of penguins. So if we go back to our index, it also told me to look at pages 8 to 9. An emperor penguin's body. This was the same title of a section that I noticed in the table of contents. So if I just looked at the table of contents, I would have come directly here. The body of an emperor penguin is designed for life in the Southern Ocean. An emperor penguin has powerful wings. It uses its wings as flippers while it swims. Its body is streamlined or smoothly shaped, allowing the penguin to swim quickly through water. An emperor penguin must swim quickly to find food and avoid predators. Predators are animals that hunt and eat other animals. We've got a great diagram here that's focused in on just one type of penguin, though, an emperor penguin. An emperor penguin can see well both in water and on land. Feathers cover and protect an emperor penguin's ears. The penguin has good hearing, however. An emperor penguin cannot fly because its wings are too small to lift its heavy body off the ground. Strong claws help an emperor penguin grip slippery ice while it walks. An emperor penguin's beak has nostrils that are suited to cold weather. When the penguin breathes out, its nostrils are warmed by the breath. When it breathes in, the cold air is warmed by the penguin's nostrils. A thick feathered flap of skin hangs from an emperor penguin's belly. The skin is called a brood pouch. An emperor penguin uses its webbed feet to steer and stop in water. So I thought this was interesting here. An emperor penguin can see well both in water and on land. And remember, I always kind of want to think about what I'm reading in my different books. We know this one is focused on emperor penguin. And if I come back here, this one was talking about penguins in general. And this book says that they think that penguins can see better underwater than they can on land. So I wonder if emperor penguins see a bit better than some other types of penguins. Feathers and fat. An emperor penguin has 2 layers of feathers that keep its body warm. The outer layer of feathers is made up of many small feathers which are covered in oil. The oil makes the feathers waterproof. Under the layer of small feathers, the penguin has a layer of warm, fluffy feathers called down. Down traps warm air close to the penguin's skin. Under its skin, a penguin has a thick layer of blubber, or fat, that also helps keep the penguin warm. In fact, with all its layers, the penguin sometimes gets too hot. To cool off, the penguin fluffs up its feathers or spreads its wings to release body heat. So here I'm learning about their different layers of feathers and how they have some blubber. Dressed for success. Ooh, and that word countershading is jumping out at me. So we learned about that in our other text. Let's see if we learn the same information here. Penguins have white bellies and black backs. This contrast in colors is called countershading. Countershading is coloring that makes it difficult for predators to see an animal. When a penguin swims above a predator, the predator may not notice it because the penguin's white belly blends in with the bright water above. When a penguin swims below a predator, the predator may not notice it because the penguin's black back blends in with the dark water below. So that does match the information we already learned. So if I flip back to the index, we read page 4, we read pages 8 to 9, and it's also telling me to take a look at page 22 and 25. So let's see what information we find there. But now here's page 22, and I see growing in a group, and it's talking a lot about chicks and babies. I don't see much information about their bodies here. Oh, but this is probably why it told me to look here in my index. The chick needs a steady supply of food to grow and keep enough blubber on its body to stay warm. So the index knew that it talked about bodies on page 22, but it's not really giving me a ton of information. Let's see what we learn on page 25. Let's see, we've got molting, which we just learned about. Okay, so this would be about their body because it has to do with their feathers. Molting. Mature emperor penguins spend about 1 month in the ocean finding food and putting on the blubber they lost during the winter. Then they move on to pack ice to molt. Mature penguins molt for about 3 to 4 weeks. They cannot enter the water until their feathers have grown back, so they do not eat again until they finish molting. So that's pretty crazy. The whole time they're waiting to molt, they don't eat. Preening penguins. Whether they are in water or on ice, emperor penguins preen often. Preening is cleaning, combing, and oiling feathers. Penguins use their beaks to comb their feathers into place. Then they take oil from body parts called preen glands. So that's why this page was in the index. Then they take oil from body parts called preen glands, which are located near their tails, and spread the oil over their feathers. The oil makes the feathers smooth, shiny, and waterproof. Preened feathers help keep penguins warm and allow them to move smoothly through the water. So we learned a lot today about penguins and their bodies and different features of their bodies. And we also learned, too, that the index can help us, but we also have to figure out why the index sends us to certain pages. In this case, page 22 did not help me learn about their bodies as much as pages 8 and 9 did. So make sure you are utilizing your informational text features to help you find the information you need as you are continuing to do your research, scientist. Off you go.